Inside of the lighthouse, there's this airtight pod called a bathysphere. You hop in there, you see like a welcome to Rapture sort of video. You find a shortwave radio that talks to this man named Atlas. He tells you about how his family is stuck in Rapture still, and he's trying to make his escape with his family. And he asks, would you kindly help me save my family? And you agree, in part because that, if you help them, you end up with an escape plan, and maybe you're a good person. The game doesn't go about instilling motives on you, but it doesn't leave you any option other than to help this guy out, really. Atlas functions as both your guide and your only friend for most of the game. Everyone else you run into is sort of either trying to use you or kill you, but he's fairly friendly. You guys have a pretty good working relationship. So you end up running around killing all sorts of insane leadership type people in the world of Rapture. You end up finding out more about Andrew Ryan, the leader and kind of founder of Rapture. You learn about Rapture and its history and decline and Andrew Ryan through all of these different pieces of the environment, dialogues, audio diaries that you find, people you talk to, things like that. And while, you end up kind of going through this objective-based, find this person, kill them, restore life to these plants so that you can have oxygen and not suffocate. While you're allowed to sort of go through this by finding your own path and coming up with your own means of accomplishing these objectives, ultimately the objectives are linear. You have to accomplish one objective, then the next objective, then the next objective. But because you're kind of given the freedom to discover how you want to do it on your own, it doesn't feel that constricting throughout the game. On top of that, you are given some small meaningful choices, like, do you want to save these little sisters who are accompanied by big daddies? Do you want to spare them after you kill a big daddy, or do you want to harvest them for Adam, which is, the resource that you use to kind of level up in the game? And decisions like that also help to make the game not feel as linear. So you're going through the game, and one of the big things that you discover is the history of Andrew Ryan and this man named Frank Fontaine. So Andrew Ryan made Rapture so that the best and brightest could come and sort of be unencumbered by, like, taxation or, regulations, things like that, so that they could just sort of pursue what they wanted and be entitled to the sweat of their brow. Frank Fontaine is another businessman in Rapture. For a while, Andrew Ryan sort of likes Frank Fontaine because he's one of these self-made mans that Andrew Ryan thinks everyone should be, but he ends up finding out that Fontaine is also running, in addition to the biggest competitor to Andrew Ryan's corporation, a pretty successful and lucrative smuggling operation that Andrew Ryan is worried might lead to the discovery of Rapture by the outside world, which is sort of the whole point of building an underwater city, is that people can't come find you. But apparently, Fontaine has died in a recent Ryan-led raid on his smuggling operation. He was shot to death. At that point, Ryan nationalized Fontaine Futuristics, Fontaine's company. This led to a revolt. It seemed like too much power in one man's hands, so a man named Atlas, same Atlas that is kind of guiding you through this game, started rabble-rousing. He led a people's revolt against Ryan, because it's not like real life where there's people and then there's tanks. There's no tanks in an underwater city, A, and B, everyone's got these, like, plasmids, so just having a whole bunch of people that have genetic modifications that give them superpowers ends up being pretty good if you want to lead a revolution against those in power. Now, the thing is that Ryan actually makes those plasmids, and so he modifies them so that people are very susceptible to pheromones, and basically steals this revolt, this army that Atlas had building, by implementing a little bit of pheromone mind control into his tonics. And that's the world that you enter into, is there's these splicers that largely don't have control over themselves and are told by Andrew Ryan to kill you because you are allied with Atlas. Now, let's look at the turn, where a lot of that is subverted. This is about to blow your goddamn mind. Bathysphere. Maybe you're a good person.